Yo, it's me, it's the SCOTT, and I'm sorry, you're gonna hear some noise out there, because I can't. It's too freaking hot to close the window. And today hasn't been the best day. You go from thinking you're gonna get a new air conditioner, you can finally cool off, to the air conditioner's too small, so no, fuck you, pal. That's what they're saying to me. I don't know. But anyway, we are here to talk about Doctor Who. So, let's talk about this long-running, one of the longest-running shows in history. The show began in 1963, and the first Doctor, the Doctor, referring to the titular character, Doctor Who, Doctor, as he was known as Doctor Who, he's just the Doctor now, just the Doctor, and, so, it started back in 1963, and it's been long running ever since, with a short break after towards the middle end of the 80s. Looks like 1986, and then, or 1989, and in 1996, they released a short TV movie, and then it was brought back in 2005. And it's still continuing to this day. So, the Doctor is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. He rides in the TARDIS, which is a machine that travels through space and time, and he has various companions with him. The Doctor, instead of dying when he's mortally wounded, will regenerate into a new form. This was done because the first Doctor, the actor who played the first Doctor, William Hartnell, became ill in 1966. And instead of canceling the show, they decided to recast him and bring in the concept of regeneration. Now, as I just mentioned, the first Doctor was portrayed by William Hartnell. And he was on the show from 1963 to 1966. He was then replaced with Patrick Troughton, who was on the show from 1966 to 1969. Both for 3 years. The third Doctor was John Pertwee, who would be the Doctor from 1970 to 1974. Which is 4 years, but anyway, just a brief stop here. I actually watched the special on the Doctor Who Pluto TV channel, The Three Doctors. It just happened to be on when I went to see what was playing. And so I sat and I watched it. That's one of the reasons why it took so long for me to get this video out. Another one is the whole air conditioner debacle. But I'm not going to review the whole thing. It's just a short little review. I thought it was pretty good. Although The Three Doctors is a little sketchy. See, William Hartnell was a part of the show, but because of his health, he couldn't be on the same screen as the other two actors. So he recorded all of his, he recorded his appearance, and it was broadcast on the screen in the TARDIS as sort of a message. The story has the Time Lords. There's something made of antimatter. They don't know what it is. It turns out to be Omega, which I guess is known enemy of the Time Lords. And they send forth not only one of the Doctors, but the other two incarnations of the Doctor. And the first Doctor, played by Hartnell, he is said that he's stuck in some weird time limbo thing, and thus that's why he can't be with them in the TARDIS. That was a good way to work around his health. You know, he died shortly after this, I think, shortly close to it, and yeah, I kind of enjoyed this. This is like early Doctor Who, in the 1970s. So it was hokey. The costumes that the monsters have are a little, hokey. Although I kind of prefer that to the CGI stuff that we get now. But some of the CGI is good, I guess. But the little hokey thing, it's like I'm watching Sesame Street or something. That's what I thought it was. And then the effect of this antimatter stuff is a little bit dated, but overall I thought it was pretty good. I thought that the performances of William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, and John Pertwee, those two specifically, were good. And William Hartnell was good enough for what they had him in. He wasn't in much, but he was still good. So after John Pertwee left the show, actually John Pertwee would be would be the doctor who would meet one of the most famous companions, that is Sarah Jane Smith, who would be with the Doctor in his third and fourth incarnations before leaving. And there was also Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who was met by the second Doctor, and he was in this special too. Sarah Jane Smith was not, but I guess they meet later. I don't know. So following John Pertwee, Tom Baker took the role and held it from, get this, 1974 to 1981. 70 years. The longest reigning Doctor to date. After Tom Baker in 1982, Peter Davison was brought in. I guess Tom Baker was having problems with the writers, producers, or something, and they brought in Peter Davison. And Peter Davison lasted from 1982 to 1984, and that's only 2 years, before being replaced by Colin Baker. Now, Colin Baker's reign wasn't the best either, as he was also having problems behind the scenes, so much so that he didn't come back to film a small regeneration scene. Instead, they put the next Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, in a wig and put him face down. I think his is probably the worst regeneration, just kind of meh, because it's really nothing to see. Colin Baker portrayed the Doctor from 1984 to 1986. That's another 2 years. Sylvester McCoy would play the Doctor from 1987 to 1989, but would return in 1996. So, in 1989, they canceled the show. I guess there was someone from the networks was trying to get it canceled. I don't know exactly who, but it was canceled. It was done. It was over with. It was gone. And in 1996, they decided to try to make a TV film to push forward an American version of the show, with still having a British actor. Sylvester McCoy returned for the opening scene, in which he was shot and then presumed dead, and then regenerated into Paul McGann's version. Paul McGann has only appeared as the Doctor in this film and a short for the 50th anniversary special, the Day of the Doctor, which was called The Night of the Doctor, I think. And from then on, there was no Doctor Who, save for these animated versions played by Richard E. Grant. And he was originally supposed to play the Ninth Doctor, but they cast Christopher Eccleston in the role. And I think he's a great Doctor. Probably one of the best. People are always down on him, and I guess, I don't think they're down on him because of his performance. He has a great performance. I think they're down on him because I think people believe he hates Doctor Who. I mean, I'd be glad just for what he did for Doctor Who, but I don't know. He was only in 2005 before he was replaced by David Tennant, who, starting with the very first Christmas special, would take over and or the Christmas special, the New Who era, would take over as the 10th Doctor. And I'll tell you right now, this is my favorite incarnation of the Doctor. What Tennant brought to the character was phenomenal. And Tennant would stay on the show from 2005 to 2010, going through 3 different companions. Well, 4 if you count Mickey, and 5 if you count Jack. And Sarah Jane was there. During this time, there would be 2 other spin-offs of Doctor Who, the Sarah Jane Adventures, starring Sarah Jane Smith, and Torchwood with the character of Captain Jack Harkness, who the Ninth Doctor met in Series 1 of the New Who, of the new Doctor Who. And they would spin off Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures, one little thing. However, in 2010, it was time for David Tennant to go. When writer Russell T Davies left the show, Tennant was also leaving. And when he left, it was a complete overhaul. It was a complete goodbye to him and all the characters that had been around him. And those characters never showed up again, despite the fact that they were still alive and well by the end of this. Although the 11th Doctor did make an appearance on Sarah Jane Adventures. Other than that, the 11th Doctor was portrayed by Matt Smith and was the youngest Doctor after Peter Davison. And there's another Peter Davison Doctor Who connection that I'm going to wait until we get to that episode for me to talk about it. But Matt Smith was on the show from 2010 to 2013 and would have 3 different companions as well, but in a bit of a different change. Amy and Rory, husband and wife duo, would be on at the same time. Well, Rory later, but Amy first. And then Clara, who has gone on to become my favorite companion, would be the 11th Doctor's last companion before his regeneration. Now, during David Tennant's run, a character named River Song would appear. And she would appear to have known the Doctor. Like, she knows who the Doctor is, everything about the Doctor, but the Doctor doesn't know her. And that's because River and the Doctor are going in opposite directions through time. So, so the Doctor she knows is not the Doctor that she's talking to when she first meets Tennant's Doctor. In fact, the Doctor she meets before this, no spoilers, is the 12th Doctor. And that's a bit of a complication when we get, not complication, but it's a little interesting what they do with that. So, the 12th Doctor, after Matt Smith left, Peter Capaldi took over as the 12th Doctor. Now, this one is a little, different, because Peter Capaldi was also on the show in an earlier episode called The Fires of Pompeii, as was Karen Gillan. And they even worked that into the story, saying that he took that face to make up for what he failed to do in that episode. So, and he held this role from 2014 to 2017, before leaving and being replaced with the first ever female Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, who is currently the Doctor as we speak. There are others that portrayed the Doctors. Richard Herndl played the first Doctor in a 1983 special, The Five Doctors, because William Hartnell had passed away and they replaced him with a very convincing looking actor. David Bradley, who you might know from Harry Potter as Finch, also portrayed the first Doctor in the 2017 special. What's it called? Twice Upon a Time. It was towards the end of the... I think it's the Twice Upon a Time Christmas special. And John Hurt would portray the War Doctor in the Day of the Doctor special, being the Doctor that comes between Paul McGann and Christopher Eccleston. Eccleston was unable to return for the special, so when the War Doctor regenerates, we don't see who he regenerates into. We can assume it's Eccleston's Doctor. Ninth Doctor. Overall, I really enjoyed Doctor Who, and I enjoyed the Three Doctors special. It's a great show. So I didn't go into too many spoilers about the show. What I'm going to be covering, though, is from Christopher Eccleston to Peter Capaldi, because that's all I have, as you can see. That's all I have. But, yeah, I really enjoyed the show. A little bit of history for me. I actually bumped into this when it was on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi, during the day, weekdays, used to play marathons of shows that, either their shows or shows that they had the rights to. They would play Andromeda, Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Doctor Who, some Star Trek sometimes. They would play marathons. And one day they had this on, I'll see what it's about. And it was pretty good. I have a VHS tape with recorded episodes on there. Not sure which ones off the top of my head, but they're on there. And so originally I was planning on just doing each series, like Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, and doing some certain episodes that I wanted to talk about. Like some of the two-parters, some of the more important ones. And as I was reading the episodes on Wikipedia, I was like, there's so many episodes I want to cover, so I'm just going to do episode by episode. The actual first episode that I remember not watching, but it's memorable, is Voyage of the Damned. And that was a special. It was airing when I was, just before I was moving out here, back in 2008. And I remember I watched part of it, then I switched it because E.T. was on, because it's E.T., come on. E.T.'s gonna, E.T. or the Doctor, well, I'd rather have E.T. and the Doctor. Can you imagine David Tennant's Doctor and E.T.? Oh, well. Smart little guy, isn't it? I don't see. You know, just, you know. Or even Eccleston's. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Or maybe, can I do Matt Smith? Oh, well. You're small, aren't you? Yes, well. We'll work on it. I don't know. I don't know. I can't do... Peter Capaldi, hold on. Do you eat pears? Never ever eat pears. I don't know. That's another thing. Is the Doctor... Each actor that portrays the Doctor is different. Acts differently. And when you go from, from character to character, it could also, actor to actor, it could also go character to character. And the character, the way the character behaves can mean that, like, Christopher Eccleston's Doctor was a little bit quirky, a little bit goofy, and sometimes serious when he had to be. When you get to David Tennant, he's a little more serious than his predecessor, and you can say that what he's gone through as the Ninth Doctor and everything has finally gotten to him, and he's finally taking everything seriously. And you get to Matt Smith's version, you can be like, oh, well now the Doctor is getting a light persona, and he's finally, Then again, you could also say from the War Doctor, what he had to do made him go down a dark path. And he was on that path until he found Rose as the Ninth Doctor. I'm just saying. And Peter Capaldi has that, he's one of the oldest actors to play since William Hartnell. And you could say that's the Doctor finally growing up, But, yeah, I'm going to, be excited to bring to you my reviews for these episodes, starting with the first episode of Series 1, Rose. So look forward to that. Until then, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one. I did that backwards. Duh.